There will be a total of 10 new NFL head coaches year over year from 2025 to 2026. So we're going to go ahead and rank those 10 hirings. We're going to take into account experience, what the situation currently is, and then go over our expectations for them. If you're new here to Blitz with Blender, thank you for watching this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get started with number 10, and we're going to work our way up to number 1. Now, the Cleveland Browns, they got rid of Kevin Stefanski and hired Todd Monken. He comes over from previous experience with the Baltimore Ravens, as well as back-to-back national titles with the Georgia Bulldogs. His offense in 2023 and 2024 with Baltimore was one of the best two in the league. They were one of just two teams, the Ravens and the Lions, that scored over a combined 1,000 points in those 2 years. Now, from 23 to 2025, they were ranked number 1 in rushing yards, 167 per game, which is a monster number. Number 1 in average for per attempt rushing yards, number 1 in pass rating, 106.5. So a lot of those numbers, it stands behind their quarterback in Lamar Jackson in the running game with Derrick Henry, and you got to attribute a lot of success to Monken. The question is, what will they look like in Cleveland? Going from 28 points per game over the last 3 years, which was the 3rd best in the league, what does the offense look like in Cleveland? As far as an expectation standpoint, I'm saying just be in the top 16 to 18 in the NFL. We're not trying to build this thing overnight. Not exactly quite sure who the quarterback is going to be over the future, even beyond next season. Let's just get things going in the right direction. So expectation, 7 to 8 wins next year. Try to not be picking in the top 10. Todd Monken, a very steep ask and task to lead that Browns organization, bring them out of the bottom barrel of the league. At number 9, Jeff Hafley. A ton of experience with a number of different stops for him. Boston College, the Ohio State Buckeyes, the Green Bay Packers as their defensive coordinator the last couple of years, where they've had a top 10 bona fide defense. And you could have made the argument that Green Bay was maybe the Super Bowl favorite when they had that 9-point lead over the Broncos in the second half before Watson got hurt and Micah Parsons done for the season. But their 7 to 8 win range as far as an expectation goes, the uncertainty around the quarterback position, they just let go of Tyreek Hill. They're clearly in a rebuild mode, going to be headed in a new quarterback direction, the lessening caps, and when you get rid of one of your best players, you're going to try and replace that with 2 or 3 other guys, or you're trying to simply just get a little bit younger and build towards the future. The division that they're working with, New England now is a major threat. The Buffalo Bills with Josh Allen continuously, but Jeff Hafley, he's a base 4-3 defense kind of a coach. He's really going to have a defensive line that's anchored right there in the middle. I really like Kenneth Grant and the moves like getting rid of Jalen Phillips. It shows you where Miami is headed here. 7 or 8 wins, similar to Todd Monken. A lot of work to be done in that division and for the Miami Dolphins, but defensively, I like the move. The Drake Mays, the Josh Allens of the world in that offensive play. You need a defense to be able to limit teams to less than 20 points a game. If you look at the last 2 years, you have about a 75 to 80% chance if you are ranked in the top 10 for scoring defense overall in the season. It's a really key statistic, so I do like the hire. At number 8, Mike LaFleur for the Arizona Cardinals. He worked with Robert Saleh, and that offense sort of unlocked. Garrett Wilson was the offensive rookie of the year in 2022, and then the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. Now, clearly, Sean McVay is one of the best coaches in the league. He will be for the next 10 to 20 years, as long as he's doing it. And so the arguments are well heard. They're falling on these ears, and I'm listening to those, that's Sean McVay's offense. But you have to give credit to a guy that worked with McVay, that was with him every single day, absorbing the information from that mind. And now he goes to Arizona, where there are weapons. Marvin Harrison Jr., could he unlock him and get him back on track to what you would think would be of his the career as a top 5 potential wide receiver in the NFL. Michael Wilson, Trey McBride, they've got weapons, and then a bunch of young, talented players on defense. I would say for Mike LaFleur, an expectation is about 8 wins overall, maybe even 9 this season. The fans want to see success, again, very similarly to the Browns, to the Dolphins. You've got quarterback uncertainty. What are they going to do with Kyler Murray? What does the future look like? It's going to be 2-3 seasons until Arizona legitimately can be a threat in that division, let alone the NFC as a whole. So you really have to invest in that offensive line to protect the quarterback who it's going to be. Run the football. Get your quarterback under center, and you're really just going to be putting a lot of the onus on LaFleur as a play caller, as a head coach. His brother's done an excellent job with the Green Bay Packers. Hasn't really gotten over the hump, but could Mike LaFleur build something there? He's in probably the toughest division in the NFL, so he's going to have a really tough task ahead of him, like a lot of these guys, just about everybody in the league. At number 7, we're going to go Klint Kubiak with the Raiders hiring now, and he just won a Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks, and he's got his own team now with the Las Vegas Raiders. You can expect heavy run, a balanced attack. Very likely they're going to go with Fernando Mendoza. It's a guy that was a passing game coordinator with the San Francisco 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, so he's got experience. He's very aware of under center. You look at that Seattle offense, they're trying to take a lot off the plate off their quarterback, but then at times air it out. You've already got Brock Bowers, you've got Ashton Genty, and there's weapons there to work with. And do they retain Max Crosby on defense? You would hope so. Very likely if you are Kubiak, unless they go the route of capital and then getting a little cheaper for a true rebuild there in Vegas, simply because that division, Mahomes, the Chargers are going to be a perennial contender, as well as the Denver Broncos. They will be as well. So you need to truly build something special there in Vegas. And with Kubiak and his experience and success with that Seattle offense, it's very likely a situation that Mendoza walks into where you could see him throw low 20s, 22 touchdown passes to 13 interceptions and have up and down success. And you see the Raiders win about 7 games. That's where I'm going to put the expectations. Again, a really tough division there that they're playing in. Some of these coaches are being thrown into the fire. Now, a guy that has an opportunity in Tennessee, Robert Saleh. I was personally surprised. I thought that he might stay another year in San Francisco and wait for possibly a better opportunity that might come available. But even with a bunch of hurt, talented players, no first rounder, Michael Williams the back half of the season, Fred Warner goes down, Nick Bosa goes down, and they still had a defense that was in the top 12 while they had the least sacks in the NFL with 20. With the Jets, they had a top 10 defense for 3 straight seasons. They had the best defense in football back in 2023. So 7 to 8 wins. Jacksonville and Houston, clearly the top 2 teams in that division. What are the Colts looking like? There's a little bit more wiggle room because of an uncertainty around Indianapolis. Going to leave it around 7 to 8 wins. That's the majority of these new coaches walking into those situations. At number 5, Joe Brady. This is a guy with different expectations level. It's AFC Championship game or bust. Every year you've got Josh Allen. If you're not at least a game away from the Super Bowl, it's a disappointment, just like this past season was for the Buffalo Bills. And they got Sean McDermott fired despite 6 straight trips to the divisional round game or beyond that. Look, the offense has been top 5 the last couple of seasons after he took over for Ken Dorsey in the middle of that 2023 season. They had a top 5 offense, the number 1 rushing offense in football, and you're expecting 12 to 13 wins, retake the AFC East from New England, and you're trying to be in the running. You want to get that first round bye. If I'm not mistaken, Buffalo hasn't had that first round bye with Josh Allen where they've had home field advantage throughout the playoffs. That's really not so much this year, but the year after now of what you're trying to build there. In Buffalo, offensive minded, I think Buffalo truly needs a wide receiver threat alongside with Josh Allen, bring him in another wideout to get the ball to. It just doesn't look like Keon Coleman's the figure there. A heavy run game, and then get Josh Allen another weapon. Number 4, Kevin Stefanski with the Atlanta Falcons. This is a 2-time Coach of the Year in 2020 and 2023. Amazing to think 2 different spots. There's a possibility he's a Coach of the Year with the Atlanta Falcons. And of all of these guys, the Buffalo Bills, clearly, it's an amazing situation. But in the sense of a division, this is one of the best circumstances. That's the weakest division in football, the NFC South. So he takes over after being a coach in Minnesota. Success. Cleveland, they had a run to the playoffs twice, one with Baker Mayfield, another with Joe Flacco. One of the brightest minds in the game. He had a real opportunity, I thought, to beat Mahomes. That one year when he went down, it was Chad Henne, but they just weren't able to do that. But I think that this offense, as far as expectations go, top 10. London, Pitts, they likely re-signed Bijan Robinson. If they get Penix back or whoever's playing under center for them, expectations immediately for Atlanta Falcons fans is a top 10 offense and 8 or 9 wins. And by the second year, you're thinking division, that you got to win that division with Stefanski. That's just what you're walking into. Unlike a lot of these other guys with teams like Tennessee or Cleveland or Miami, you're really working with a bunch of talent. There's a ton of chips that you have there. And then defensively, there's a heck of a lot of really good players. There's that issue with James Pierce Jr., but we'll see how all of that is sorted out. Stefanski, I love the hire for Atlanta. Number 3 and up, these are monsters. Mike McCarthy for the Pittsburgh Steelers, a Super Bowl champion head coach. 5 Super Bowls for the Dallas Cowboys, that organization he coached there. The Pittsburgh Steelers, 6 Super Bowls he gets to coach there. Green Bay Packers, 4 Super Bowls. There truly is no other head coach in history that has had the opportunity to represent and be the leader of men at more prestigious organizations in the league than the Packers, the Cowboys, and the Steelers. These are 3 of the top 5 in the NFL. And maybe in all of sports, the guy that's had an opportunity to coach all of those 3 teams. 12 playoff appearances for McCarthy, 11 seasons of 10-plus wins, and he's made the playoffs in 12. That's what I meant by the appearances. But the expectation is the playoffs. Playoffs, 10 wins. If you win 10 games and you miss the postseason, it would be chalked up as decent success. We'll see if Aaron Rodgers is back. But anything less than 10 wins immediately. They've got weapons there, a lot of money spent on defense. To me, clearly for Pittsburgh, I think you need a number 2. You got to bring in another guy opposite of DK Metcalf to open up that offense. Maybe you missed on Caleb Johnson, the 3rd rounder out of Iowa, but that offense at times can be very dangerous. It's just they had no number 2 weapon outside of Metcalf. You bring in another guy that's talented on the other side. Now Freiermuth can be more effective. Now Metcalf gets more one-on-one opportunities. Look out for Pittsburgh with McCarthy next year. He's been a very good coach for a long time. At number 2, Jesse Minter with the Baltimore Ravens. The last 4 years have been unbelievable for this youngster. And 7th total defense, number 2 scoring defense in the country for the Michigan Wolverines as their coordinator. Lost in the semifinal in 2023. They win the national championship with the number 1 defense in the country. 2024, number 1 total defense in 2024 with the Chargers, and number 5 total defense in 2025 with Los Angeles, and number 1 passer rating allowed. Minter loves interior pressure. You've got weapons. There's Hamilton. There's Humphrey. There's Roquan Smith. Mike Green you just took out of Marshall. They've got guys in every level and expect them to continue to invest on defense with Lamar at quarterback, Henry, Zay Flowers in that offense. Really continue to hone into that Ravens brand of running the football. Expect it to be even more. He won a national title with Michigan Wolverines, pounding the rock. There was a second half there when they played Penn State that season. They didn't even throw the football in this second half. They're going to hone into Lamar's running ability, giving the ball to Derrick Henry 20-25 times a game. Monken got criticized. It's going to be a different type of style now there in Baltimore that really hones into that identity and playing defense, control the ball. At number 1, John Harbaugh, another Super Bowl champion, the 2019 Coach of the Year, 12 playoff appearances, the 7th most all-time playoff wins with 13. He's been right there. They had that AFC Championship game loss at home to the Chiefs. They had the number 1 seed where they got beat by Mike Vrabel's Tennessee Titans. So they've had 2 teams, I thought, that were Super Bowl caliber that did not get to the Super Bowl. So the expectations with Harbaugh and the New York Giants, I'm going to say 8 wins. Maybe being in the conversation in early December for a wild card, sitting there at a record at that point in the year that's like 6-6. At the end of the season, you're trying to make that push and be right there. Daniels and the Commanders, the Philadelphia Eagles, Prescott and the Cowboys. This is probably the 2nd worst division in the NFC in the sense of depth. So there is a chance for somebody to take in and be consistently that number 2 team behind Philadelphia. Hard to imagine somebody usurps them, but I'm thinking that it could be the New York Giants in the next 2-3 years that start to become a threat. Malik Neighbors, Cam Scadaboo, Jackson Dart's mobility, and he looked really good last year. And then that front 4, it really underperformed. There's a whole lot of talent there. So New York, number 5 overall pick in the draft, decent capital. You'd imagine that they really try to either go O-line or they add another offensive weapon to get that offense in a position. So Harbaugh's walking into a pretty decent situation. As far as they go, I would say top 3 on this list for him with a young quarterback in Dart. So you've got capital to go spend money elsewhere and some really nice, young, talented players. Expectations are high for Harbaugh. A lot of these guys as it goes, but this is a situation where it's one of those fun ones where immediately you get to try and build something in New York. It's not completely from the ground up because you know what you're going to have in a quarterback that's mobile, that's talented, that could be a Pro Bowl player consistently, a 32 touchdown to 10 interception guy every year, adding 500 rushing yards. That's the ceiling. That's what Jackson Dart could be, and build something there with New York with defense behind it. So that is the list of the top 10 hirings I have for this specific cycle, as well as the expectations behind them. I know that you likely have a different order to this. Let me know down below in the comments what you would change about this list, what you agree on, but how you would switch it up, what you thought the best hires were. If you enjoyed this video, thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, like, and as I said, comment down below. I love hearing from you guys, and throughout this offseason, which is a long one, it just makes it go a little bit faster when we can share and enjoy, have some debates, even agree from here in a couple of instances. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.
Best player in college football.
That Georgia and Ohio State game, New Year's Eve, is going to be a classic.
Josh Blunder, hi everybody, I'm Josh Blunder.
To the 40, 35, 30, Espinosa to the 20.